Welcome back to your mat. We'll start this practice in a wide leg forward bend. Separate your feet about 3 to 4 feet apart. All 10 toes point straight forward. Big inhale, reach up. And then as you're ready, start to fold down over your legs, in between your legs. Dig your hands down to the floor, blocks, or even down to your shins. In just a moment here to shake out. Move your head around. And if you need to move your knees around, you can bend your knees a little bit side to side. I like to walk my hands forward first and imagine this as a really wide leg downward facing dog. So this helps to stretch out shoulders and take the weight off your hamstrings. So kind of a 2-for-1 there. Continue to press down equally into both feet, even if you are moving your knees around. We're going to move into a twist in a moment, so please take your time and move around as you need before adding on. Okay, so come back under your hips with your hands if you had your hands walked out in front of you. And this is Prasarita Padottanasana A version, so your head towards the floor, arms in a chaturanga placement. Again, pressing equally into both feet. Chin tucks in towards your chest. And if you need to separate your feet wider or bring them in closer, please, be aware of those things as you're in this pose and feel free to move. Okay, let's move into that twist. Left hand comes under your chest, push down into the floor, press equally into both feet, and start with your right hand on your hip, right elbow pointing towards the ceiling. Lengthen your torso so your head is still in line with the center of your hips, not over by your right hip. And then you can stretch your right arm up to the ceiling if you'd like. Keep pressing down into your left hand and exhale, sweep that right hand back down to the floor and switch sides. Right hand to the mat underneath your chest, press equally into both feet, and then start by taking your left hand to your waist. And then again, just rotate open on your torso so you're not leaning over to your left and side bending or forward bending. Keep your chest open. Your hips might shift a little bit here, and that's fine. Just keep the awareness of your feet equally pressing down. That'll help eliminate a massive overshift of the hips, just allowing them to turn as they need to accommodate the movement. And then you can stretch your left arm up if you'd like. On your next exhale, release your left hand down and fold. Prasarita Padottanasana A again. Lift your sit bones, press down through your heels, and feel that oppositional movement create a beautiful stretch on the back of your legs. And your head stretches down to the ground. Next inhale, lift up halfway, walk your hands forward under your shoulders. Engage your legs. And then we're just going to go a little side to side with those knee bends that I was kind of referring to at the beginning. So if you didn't get those in before, get them in now. And if you did, it's a good idea to do them again because we are going to move into a single leg lunge squat. And I'm bending my knees right to left, keeping the toes pointing straight forward. And just use your hands to push yourself over and also for balance. So about 3 times each side, notice the straight leg, notice the bent knee, what's happening in each leg as you take this squatting motion. And your hips don't need to come any lower than your knees at this point. And then we're going to move into Skandasana, little surfer squat. On my right heel, I'm going to lift and turn my toes out and then start to squat over towards the right ankle. You might need to lift your right heel here. The left leg stays straight and the toes roll up to the ceiling. And I just bent my left knee to prevent that hyperextension. So I can take my left calf down to the floor, and I really don't think that's a good idea for me. I don't know if it is for you, so just be mindful of that. So again, if you need to lift your right heel, you can come to the ball of your right foot. Find your balance, maybe a block under your sit bones, and then forward bend. You could definitely take any arm variation here that you'd like. And so if you wanted to open your arms out to the sides of the room, right arm in front of your right shin, or if you wanted to bind up, you could bind the right hand around and the left hand comes around for the left, or the left hand comes around for the right hand to grab. And just be careful with balance here. If you fall back, the floor's not that far away, so that's the good news. But really engage your core. And if you need your left hand behind you, then take your left hand behind you when you bind, or in front of you, and you could take a half bind. Keep pressing out through the ball of your left foot and keep squeezing your left thigh so the left knee does not collapse down to the floor and hyperextend. Okay, release your bind if you've got that. And we're just going to slowly press back up into the straight leg, wide leg forward bend variation. Pressing your foot back down, right foot back down, turn your toes in, and then both of the feet again equally press just for a moment in center. You can release your arms, take any hand variation that you'd like here, but just get back to that grounding between both feet equally. And just reconnect there. And as you're ready, we'll move on to side 2. Please take your time. If you need another moment to ground, stay and enjoy it. When you're ready though, turn on your left heel so your toes point out and squat over to the back of your left heel, squatting behind your left heel with your left sit bone. Again, engage your right thigh as you straighten out your right leg and roll to the back of your right heel. If you need to lift up your left heel and balance on the ball of your left foot, reposition your right foot so that the spacing is normal and it doesn't feel like you're being overstretched. You don't want your right leg to be so far away from you that you feel like it's pulling you apart and you don't have any control over balance. And then again here, take the arm variation that you like to play with. You can open your arms out, left arm in front of your left shin. And then you can start to take a half bind or a full bind. Left arm wraps around the left shin into the left hip with your left hand, and then your right arm reaches around for your left hand to grab. Press out through the ball of your right foot, and again, squeeze the right thigh. And you can roll your right ribs open here if you're fully binding and twisting open. Otherwise, a nice half bind, and you could still open your right ribs open using your right hand on the floor. All right, take your hands back down to the mat and start to use your hands and your feet together to press back up into the wide leg forward bend. Again, taking a moment here to reposition, reroute, and ground evenly into both feet. And we're going to come up to stand. So press equally into both feet. Next inhale, lift from your back muscles, and then all the way up to stand. Press down into both feet. Feel the inner lines and the outer lines of your feet. And then you can step up to Samastitihi, standing pose. Exhale. And take a moment here. When you're ready, inhale, reach your arms up. Press down into your feet. And exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. Hang here for just a few moments, letting your head get heavy, shake it out. Tuck your chin into your chest. Feel your weight in your body move forward so that the weight in your feet, you can feel it heavy in the balls of your feet. Step your left leg back and lower your left knee down. And then we're going to move this up into a very easy twist. Left hand stays on the floor, right hand on your right thigh to gently leverage your right ribs open into a kneeling twist. You can flip your left toes back or keep the toes tucked under, your preference. And then also wherever you want to turn your head, just make sure that the back of your neck stays open and long and you're not crunching in the back of your neck. Release your twist and then lift upright into a low lunge with your head up over the back of your hips now. You can have your hands on your thigh. And then we're going to twist upright. So the left elbow now is going to hook the outer right thigh. Prayer pose. Press down into your left hand to spin your sternum up. I like to take my right hand to my hip. It just keeps my shoulders a little bit more open. You could even take your right hand to your left thigh for that extra little bit of leverage. But don't strong arm yourself into this. Again, pull your head back in line with the back of your heart so it's not a forward bend. And you can look over your right shoulder or just out through the line of your collarbones. Press into your right foot when you're ready to come out of that with an inhale, untwist. Exhale there, and then your next inhale, sweep your arms up. Big opening stretch into Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Followed by an exhale, hands to the floor, and step back, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Stretch out your low back here. Stretch out your arms. Your arms are really strong. And you can wag your tail side to side. Let your head drop. And just enjoy this as a moment of a break, just to breathe. Another wonderful option here is tabletop or child's pose. Focus on your breath wherever you are, belly moving the breath. And if you'd like to move this into plank pose for some extra movement, come into plank with an inhale. Bend your elbows as you exhale, lower your hips and belly button. Point your toes back, keep your shoulders lifted, and then inhale, stretch your chest up to the ceiling, Cobra, Bhujangasana. Press up through the knees, hips back to heels, Balasana, child's pose. Really pressing forward with your arms. Let your forehead rest on your mat. Relax your feet and your ankles, and let your hips drop. Let your forehead rest. And then you can enjoy a couple more breaths here. As you're ready, you can start to lift back up into tabletop, but take as long as you need here, especially if you are feeling any tension in your low back from the twisting and the opening that we've been doing. I'm going to move back to downward facing dog, and you can come right back up into Adho Mukha Svanasana from plank or from tabletop. We'll walk your feet slowly up to the top of your mat so we can meet back up in a forward bend, Uttanasana. And take as long as you need here in your forward bend. When you're ready, press into your feet. Use your back muscles. Inhale, reach up, Urdhva Hastasana. Samastitihi as you exhale, standing pose. And then we'll move on to that second side. When you're ready, press down through your feet. Reach your arms. Inhale. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward bend. So this time we'll step the right leg back into your low lunge. Lower your right knee down onto the floor. And again, we're going to move into the simple little twist first, the lower based twist, keeping your right hand on your mat, left hand to your left thigh. And so if you need to put your hand on a block, please do. Or if you need to walk your hand out to the side off your mat a little bit more, that'll give you more room to twist. Your left arm is just gently pressing down into your left thigh, also reminding your left knee not to wing out to the side. So your left hand keeps the left knee pointing straight forward. Relax your left shoulder so that it's not coming up to your head. You're pushing into your left foot. Next, inhale back up into a low lunge with your hands on your knee. Get comfortable with that right hip opening here, and then we're going to twist a little deeper. Left thigh, you're going to hook your right elbow. So slide your right arm down your left thigh. Left hand to your right hand for prayer, or again, you can take your left hand to your hip or gently press down into your left thigh, just like you did in the lower version of this twist. But try to pull your head back in line with the back of your heart so it's not a forward bend, and keep your collarbones open so you can breathe all the way up into the tips of your lungs. Maintain your awareness of your press down into your left heel so that you're not leaning over onto your left leg. And then one more big breath here. Using your inhale next to come up out of your twist. Exhale there. Big inhale, sweep your arms up. Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Followed by an exhale, hands to the mat, stepping back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Again, take a few moments here or in tabletop, or if you prefer child's pose, knees to the floor, hips to heels. If you're in downward facing dog, you can play with lifting your heels and lowering, shaking your head out. Lift your sit bones, open your back here, so really stretch out your back. Again, if you want that extra movement, use your toes to press yourself forward into plank pose. Shoulders move over your wrists. That's your inhale. Use your exhale to lower down. And maybe that's your exhale, and it's okay. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Just breathe. and then up and back into child's pose. So for me, it's more like it begins on an inhale and then it's an exhale and another inhale and another exhale, right? So just let your breath follow the previous breath and set the pace without any force or any expectations, just letting your breath be natural. All right, let's come back up into a tabletop pose. Just so you can come into a seated position, you might want to crawl forward a little bit to your mat so you can sit back at the back end of your mat with your feet out in front of you. Bend your knees, feet on the floor. And you can scoot your heels as close to your hips as you'd like, but hug in on your shins with your hands, lift your chest, open your heart. We'll take an easy twist here, easy Marichyasana or easy noose pose. I'm going to start by simply hugging around the front of my shins with my left arm, and then right fingertips back to the end of the mat. And then if you'd like, you can add in the hook of your left elbow on the outside of your right thigh. Just keep your shoulders open. So if that elbow hook results in the left shoulder folding in or dropping in onto the chest, then maybe go back to the hug. Press down equally into your sit bones, lift your chest, and use your feet for an additional reminder of keeping your body open in a twist. Inhale to release, and then hug around the front of your shins and lean back and round out your spine. And then on your inhale, lift back up, open your heart. We'll reset for the second side. Right arm's going to hug across your shins, left hand behind. And again, as I was saying with the feet, they're just up there to remind you of like where the front is, of where you're twisting away from, so they're perspective. So keep the awareness of every part of your body. If you'd like to add in the right elbow hook now on the outside of your left thigh, go ahead and add that in. Again, be aware of the right shoulder and if it's collapsed. And keep pressing down into both hips so you can lift your chest and lengthen your spine in a twist so it's not shortening your spine. If you feel like your left shoulder is higher, you can always move your left hand back slightly to feel the levelness of your shoulders. All right, and then we're going to slowly release on the inhale, hug across the front of your shins again, and lean back into the backs of your sit bones. Exhale, round your spine out, stretch out, tuck chin into chest. And then we'll add on into the next preparation for Marichyasana 3. Straighten out your right leg. Pull your left heel up in towards your left sit bone, and you might even lift your hips up and scooch forward using your hands on the floor. Lean back into your hands here, open your heart, and just get used to that left hip mobility that is required for this. I'm going to now fold over the outside of my right leg, and I'm pushing into my hands almost like I'm pushing with my left, pulling with my right. So it's almost like a screwing action, like a twisting action. Try not to let your left knee open up to the side of the room. You're still pressing down into your left foot and keeping the left knee straight up to the ceiling. And also maintain the action in your right leg, pressing out through the ball of your right foot. Now just start to walk your hands over towards your right leg and simply fold over your right leg inside of your left leg. So now you feel your left arm, your left ribs are inside your left thigh. And you can use your left hand on the floor or grabbing out for your foot. But I like to keep my right hand where it is just to kind of push forward into that forward bend. So pressing back with your right hand, stretching your chest over your right toes. Use your next inhale then to roll back up to seated. And come back up into the seated version here. Just a moment to have your hands behind your back. And then we're going to move into a little wild thing stretch, simply to open up the back if it's feeling crunchy. Turn your right fingers to point back. And then lift up, coming to the outside edge of your right foot and the toes of your left foot. Keep your left knee bent. Stretch your left arm overhead. And lift your right hip up to the ceiling. Open your heart. Again, this is a nice recovery, simply to get out of that fold. It gets overwhelming after a while, or just overbearing and annoying. Straighten out both legs now in staff pose, and then let's switch sides. Pull your right heel up towards your right sit bone. Again, you can use your hands behind you to scoot yourself forward. Press out through your left foot. And take as long as you need here to simply understand the mobility of the right hip, to settle in, let the body just acclimate to this position. When you're ready, you can then forward fold out over the left leg off to the side. So right hand and left hand both come on the outside of your left leg. And again, think about pushing with your left arm, pulling with the right arm, or vice versa, however it works for you. Just use your arms here as levers for this side bend. Also remember not to let your right knee fall out and keep your right toes pointing straight forward and your right knee straight up to the ceiling. When you're ready, you can swing your body over the left leg and feel your right arm move in front of your right shin. Keep pressing out through your left leg as you fold. Again, use your right hand where it helps, where it enhances this pose. So if you want to reach for your foot, again, I'm using my left arm behind me, my left hand pushing myself forward. And a block is nice to have under your hands, or even to sit on if you need something to sit on to help with that right hip and ankle mobility. All right, and then you can come back down to the floor. And we're going to set up for that wild thing again. So your left fingers are going to turn back, palm flat. Your left wrist is just slightly beyond the shoulder, so it's not directly under. And then pop up to your right toes and the outer left foot and open your heart. Stretch your right arm overhead. Lift your left hip a little higher. Big breath here. With your exhale, you can slowly lower back down, controlling the lowering down with the left leg and the right foot. Okay. I'm going to come back into that seated position with my right heel. So still strong, draw the right heel up to the sit bone, and you may have to move it forward a little bit now. I'm going to actually cross it over the left leg. Ardha Matsyendrasana variation. This is a modified half Lord of the Fishes pose. We're just simply crossing the right ankle over the left thigh so your right foot is on the floor, and then hug with your left arm around your right knee, right fingertips on the floor behind you so you can open your chest and twist here. Nice stretch in the outer right hip. You could feel that outer right hip, piriformis, IT band area stretching. Keep pressing out through your left foot. There's a connection of your right foot to the floor, but we're not aligning it and obsessing over the correct alignment. Release your twist on your inhale. Fold over both legs into Paschimottanasana on your exhale. Again, this is a little recovery from the twist. So treat this just as it is a recovery pose. Stay in it as long as you need. And when you're ready, you can come back up to seated and we'll get the second side twist in. Pull your left foot back up to your sit bone. Again, just like you were going to take what we've been doing in this seated series so far. But then cross your foot over to the other side of your right leg. And if you need to kind of go to the outer foot, if your left foot needs to roll to the outer edge, that's fine. Hug your left knee with your right arm. Left fingertips on the floor behind you. Again, here, if you feel like that left shoulder is coming up too high, slide your left hand away from you. Press out through your right foot and use your right arm to assist gently into the twist. So it's a nice little hug. Think of this as a preparatory for Marichyasana 3. So again, we're not going to obsess over alignment on this. It's simply noticing how your body can twist. Release your twist and stretch both legs out again into a forward bend. Paschimottanasana. Take another breath or two here. Enjoy this pose as long as you'd like and catch up only when you're ready. And when you are ready, you'll inhale back up to seated. And we'll set up our twist, Marichyasana, as close as you can get your right heel to your sit bone, and then farther away from your left leg. And right now I'm just kind of taking the right knee over across my midline. I want you to do that so it's proof that you can do that and your body won't fall apart. Okay, so nothing needs to be squared or lined up. I take that knee across so that I can hook my left elbow. Then I start to push back into my right hand, push into the right foot, and turn the right hip back down to the floor. So I don't know if you caught that. I'm going to do it again here. There's a little bit of a rotation. In the actual pose, your sit bone won't be on the ground. So I'm going to do it here again. Look, my right sit bone rolls up off the floor. My right knee comes across the midline. That left leg stays active, and then I'm going to twist again. And watch now, my right sit bone is not coming down to the ground. I'm going to stay up off the floor. And you can start to wrap your right arm around your left side. Your left hand eventually is going to wrap around the front of your shin without removing your left triceps from your right knee. So that requires getting your butt as close to your heel as possible, and use your right hand on the floor behind you until you feel you can balance. And then wrap your right arm around for your left hand to grab. Again, your right sit bone not on the ground. Lift your chest. Try not to hover over the side of your right hip. I look forward. This is my preference. It keeps me from falling. That helps me best with balance. So if looking back causes you to fall back, then don't do it. Release your twist on an inhale and stretch your right leg back out in front of you. We're going to take upward tabletop just as a recovery here. So walk your hands back, fingertips point to your heels, bend your knees, and lift your hips up, pressing into your feet and your hands in an upward facing tabletop. You can let your head move back, open up your chest as you need. And take as long here as you'd like. Be here as long as you'd like. Slowly lower back down. Let's take side 2. So if you want to go back and rewind that and rework that first side, please take as long as you'd like with this posture. It's a wonderfully therapeutic pose for your spine and your hips. Okay, second side, left heel comes right up to that left sit bone. And I'm going to take my left hand back and just start to twist and hook the elbow. Right now I am sitting deep into that left sit bone. Eventually, when you get into the bind, the left hip is not going to be on the floor. So notice the difference. So this is a great way to prep this pose. And I didn't show you this on the first side. So if you want to go back and try this on the first side, please do. But now I'm going to show you how I scoot forward and take that knee way across the midline so that I can hook my right arm. So pull the left knee over. Then when you hook your arm, your left hand behind you, you can play with pushing your left knee back up to the ceiling and feel how that steers you back down into your left hip on the mat. And this is a second great place to, like a second phase, if you will, of Marichyasana 3. And now I'm going to work towards the bind. So again, I'm going to come up off my left sit bone, take that left knee all the way across to the right, hook my right arm, and here you can see I've got the right elbow pointing forward and the forearm hooking around my shin so my left arm can come around and my right hand can grab the left wrist or fingers. Keep pressing out through your right foot. And then again, keep your gaze forward if that helps most with balance. If the bind comes apart, it's fine. You just keep trying it. But the moment it becomes frustrating and you're not breathing, step away from it and you can come back to it another day. All right, use your inhale to release your bind. And then we're going to come down into a reclining position just to stretch out and recover from the twisting. I'm going to move into Serubandha Sarvangasana. So if you're working that second side or that first side a few times, pause the video and catch up when you're ready. On your inhale, lift your hips by pressing down into your heels and your shoulders. And then you can take your arms underneath your body for the bind if you want to interlace your fingers behind your back. Also, do what you want with your arms if they want to stay above head. Or you could bend your elbows here and press your forearms up to the ceiling. And keep your chest and your chin spaced out, but your chest almost like it's chasing back towards your chin and your chin is pulling away from it so that your neck stays long. All right, and then slowly release your arms so you can slowly lower back down to the ground. Stretch out your legs and your arms away from each other so you're in a full body stretch. Hug your right knee into your chest as you exhale. Give it a nice tight squeeze. Cross your right ankle over your left thigh as you lift up your left leg to to set up the number 4 reclining pigeon. You can hug around the front of your left shin or the back of your left thigh. Keep your right ankle flexed. And then take your knees slightly to the left. Let your shoulder blades and your shoulder heads drop back down to the floor. And relax your low back here. Your hips can lift as much as they need. And let your head drop into the floor. So take this pose with a bit more of a relaxing approach. Slowly take your left leg back out to the floor. Hug your right knee in again. You can stretch your arms again. Stretch both legs out. Full body stretch. And the second side when you're ready. Squeeze your left knee into your chest. Hug your left shin. Nice tight squeeze. When you're ready, pick up the left ankle with the top of your right thigh for your reclining number 4 stretch. Situate your hands on your right leg wherever you like them. But again, let your shoulders drop. Let your head relax onto the floor. Maybe even move it around a little bit to remind it not to work so much. If you take your legs to the right, just about an inch or so, you'll feel a nice little heat in that left hip, a little firing up in that left hip, and it feels really good. If it doesn't feel good, take it over to the left a little bit more to alleviate that intensity. This should be recovery and relaxation somewhat. Soften your face and your jaw. Maybe even soften your right foot. Okay, stretch your right leg back out. Hug your left knee in again. And then full body stretch. Both feet stretch out, arms above head. And I'm going to come into nice little squeeze knee to chest. If you want any additional twists, please feel free to add them in here. I've done enough. I don't want any more. So I'm going to come into a constructive rest pose. Feet on the floor, farther away from your heels than you would for bridge. And let your knees stay up to the ceiling. So you're not letting your knees knock in together and you're not letting them fall away from each other. So if you need a belt or something between your legs to kind of prop them up, do that. But then let your arms relax out to the side. Let the weight of your legs fall down into your heels. And let your inner thighs drop down to the floor. This is a wonderful pose to get those hip flexors and psoas to relax. They did a ton of work in the Marichyasana. There's a lot of hip flexion in that. And in this whole practice, you were really using those front hips and the inner hips a lot. See here with your breath just how much you can get them to relax. And you might notice as they relax, there's like some trembling, some energy letting go, and maybe being a little resistant. And just wonder, enjoy that wonder of that. That's always amazing to me, how I can feel my body relaxing as it does. There's some resistance. Let the weight of your legs drop out down into your heels. And if you'd like to, at this point, slide your feet away, or if you need longer to get that hip area to relax, stay in constructive rest a little longer. Otherwise, when you're ready, you can scooch out into Shavasana and then let your entire body now relax here. Savoring this moment of peace and quiet and neutrality in your spine. You did a ton of twisting. So just feel the space in your spine and what this practice has done for your body. Take this moment to be aware of that. Take as long as you can here, and as always, at the end of your practice, bow to you and tell yourself thank you and good job.